fired up because it is Christmas time. How many of you are excited for Christmas? You now have permission to put up your Christmas tree. I know some of you already put it up, back in September, and you're weird, but now you have permission to play Christmas music. You can go get the holiday drinks at Starbucks, and you start to wrap presents. I love giving presents. How many of you get just joy when you give a present? Okay, how many like to receive a present? I'm addicted to Pops. Have you guys seen these Funko Pops at Target and Meijer and Walmart? It's called Pops because they're based off of popular culture. They take movies and TV shows from the 80s, 90s, and today and make them into these bobbleheads. And so I've got like a wall of Star Wars Pops in my office, and this is one of my favorites. It's from Star Wars. It's a Porg. You guys like the Porgs? These things are awesome. The Porgs in the movie, they go, "Arrah, arrah," and so I have 5 kiddos. They are addicted to Porgs. I've got the Porg Pops. I've actually got 3 Porg Pops right here. And I have a quick question. How many of you would like a Porg Pop? Well, you're not getting one today. Because they're my Porg Pops. They're not your Porg Pops, they're my Porg. But here's what I'm going to do. Next Sunday, we are going to give away 3 Porg Pops to kids. 3 kids at Life Church. We are, for real. So when you check your kiddos into Life Kids, they get a postcard in the mail of a Porg. Maybe you've already seen it this past week, and it says our website, lifechurchmichigan.com/Star Wars. Did some of you get that in the mail this past week? No? All right, you all need to check your kids into Life Kids then, apparently. So all the kids are getting postcards. And what you do is you go to lifechurchmichigan.com/Star Wars. You don't do it right now. Do it when you get home. Show it to your kids. And it's 5 minutes where I just kind of say, hey, kids, welcome to Life Church. We're so happy you're here. Hey, whichever 3 kids bring the most brand new friends next Sunday to church, the top 3 are going to get a Porg Pop. And Mom and Dad, don't you want your kid to go home with a Porg Pop? Right? So it's like selling Girl Scout cookies. It's on you now. You got to get all these kids into your minivan, get them to church next Sunday. The 3 kids that bring the most first-time friends next Sunday to Life Kids, those 3 kiddos are going to go home with Porg Pops. That's pretty exciting, don't you think? I love that. I love giving stuff away. That's fun because it gets people excited. It kind of gets people thinking with one heartbeat. And that's the message today in a single hashtag, one heartbeat. Say it with me, one heartbeat. If you've got a Facebook, open up your Facebook app. You can type in hashtag one heartbeat. You can check into Life Church Saginaw, maybe even take some notes because we are in, believe it or not, week 5 of this series called Blood and Thunder. We've only got 2 more Sundays of Blood and Thunder. The whole idea is that there's 2 elements to a movement of God. We always see blood and thunder whenever God does something awesome. And I don't know about you, but I want to see God do something awesome in our generation in the Great Lakes Bay region in 2019. And so thunder is what you cannot see. You know when it hits. Some of you were woken up this morning by Michigan thunder. I saw it on Facebook. It was loud and booming, and that is what God is like. In Exodus, it says that the glory of God descended on the mountain, and there was thunder, right? You can't manipulate it. You can't control it. But when the thunder comes, you know it, right? There's a Garth Brooks special on TV tonight, and he's got his song, The Thunder Rolls. We all know thunder when we hear it. We can't manufacture, but we can pray for God's power for the thunder to come. Our end of the bargain is to bring the blood. And that's what we're talking about 2 weeks from today with our That We May year-end Christmas offering. We bring what's natural. We become living sacrifices. We say, God, here's the blood. We're praying for you to bring the thunder, to put your super on our natural. And we bring the blood as our contribution because Jesus, our role model, our champion, our hero, Jesus brought the blood first. And so that's what this whole series is about. Today we're talking about one heartbeat. If you've got a Bible, would you go to the back of your Bible to 1 Peter? Peter wrote 2 letters right before he stepped into eternity. And in 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 18 and 19, we get a little phrase that I want to jump into and sink our teeth into. It says this in 1 Peter 1, picking up in verse 18, "For you know that it was not with perishable things such as silver or gold that you are redeemed." And let me hit pause. That word redeemed, we don't use that a lot. You don't hear that a lot unless you go to, Chuck E. Cheese, and you redeem your tickets, you get something. So redeemed means you and I were purchased. We were purchased from the slavery of sin and released into the freedom of life. And that purchase cost God something. It cost Jesus his life. Life is represented by blood. Jesus was the sacrifice he gave first. So Jesus gave his blood, and then it goes on to say the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect. Jesus lived the life that you and I cannot live, and then he died the death you and I deserve. Jesus is the perfect substitute. He is a mighty rescuer. Jesus gave first. So when we talk about Christmas presents, we talk about pops, we are talking about a spirit of generosity and giving. And there's 3 takeaways that I want to share with you in our one heartbeat message. 3 takeaways that you should either write down or type into Facebook so you don't forget. 3 takeaways if we want to have one heartbeat this Christmas season. It's all about generosity. It's all about giving. Here is the first of 3 takeaways. Number 1, giving is always a response to something. If I wrap up these porg pops and place them under the Christmas tree, and then I say to my 3-year-old son, Seth, don't touch, put that down, don't unwrap that. This past week, I kid you not, a box arrived in the mail from Target. My wife actually put this on her Instagram video. You can follow my wife at Heron Hacienda. And she had taken a shower. During the shower, Seth snuck into our bedroom, stole the box from Target, ran to his bedroom, and tore that baby open. And inside was a box of Legos that was not for him. It was for 1-year-old Levi. Levi was taking a nap in the playpen. Levi wakes up. He's like, and Seth is going, mine. And Amber videotaped it on Instagram and said, look what my kid did. He ripped into this. This isn't even his. Anybody else have that problem in their house? So when we think about Christmas, we are giving in a response to something. We give presents because we love somebody. Right? I mean, Seth may be a son of a gun Tommy boy sometimes, but I love the kid. He's a little stinker. Oh, this is so cute. My 1-year-old, Levi, I taught him a new word this week. I'm so excited. I taught him, here's what I did. I said, Levi, are you a little stinker? And he goes, I tinker. I tinker. And so even over there in the nursery right now where Levi's having a blast, he's walking up to the volunteers, I tinker. And they're like, is his diaper change? So this is what I do. I teach my kids weird phrases. May the force be with you. That's the next one, right? So we give as a response, right? I love my kids, so I want to give them presents. I love to see a smile on their face. God gives you stuff because he loves to see a smile on your face. God gave you the best gift of all. He's giving you a get out of jail free card. That's Jesus. Jesus paid a big price to purchase you back from sin, sickness, and death. So giving is a response. Our focus, as we look at the year-end offering in 2 weeks, listen, eyes right here. Our focus is not on what we will receive, but on what we have received. When it comes to giving to the things of God, it's not like, okay, if I give $5, am I going to get a kickback of $10? No. We are giving as a response. Jesus paid it all. Jesus gave First, there is no self-made man in the scriptures. Everything is a gift from God. And, I drove in from Midland campus. I just preached at Midland, and I did a live Q&A. We put it on Facebook if you want to see it later. And I was supposed to do a thing with a $20 bill, and I forgot to put it in my pocket. Does anybody have a $20 bill I can borrow for a second?
There you go, brother.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can I get that later?
You want this back?
No.
I'm just needing it for a second.
Oh, you got it.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. This is a $20. That's an Andrew Jackson right there. You see the Andrew Jackson? Right, and there's the White House on the back. And I forgot to tell you, you're not getting this back. I need this $20 bill. Do you want this $20 bill? Do you miss this $20 bill? Are you a little heartbroken over this $20 bill? Well, you shouldn't be, because I gave you this $20 bill earlier and planted on you. It's my $20 bill. This is not your $20 bill. This belongs to me. This is mine. All right? This is my $20 bill. And that's how God relates to us. Everything you have is God's. All your stuff is not your stuff. It's God's stuff. Psalm 24, verse 1 says that the earth is the Lord's, everything in it. The world, all its people belong to Him. So I'm going to put this in my pocket because this is my resource, just like your resources are not your resources, they're God's resources. And here's the cool thing. God lets you and I keep His stuff. We get to keep our clothes. We get to keep our relationships. We get to keep our house or apartment. Those are resources God has given you. Your checkbook, it's really His stuff. And God lets you keep 90% of it. That's amazing to me. God only says in the scriptures to give Him 10%. That's pretty awesome, because we get to keep 90. That's love. He could have said, I get 50, you get 50, but love is, I'm giving you 90, bring me the first 10%. In the Bible, we call that tithing. It's called the tithe. The tithe, say it with me, tithe, and it means 1/10. And the tithe is in the Old and New Testament. It's outside of the law. It applies to all people living at all places at all times. And if we understand the tithe, then we understand that giving is a response, not what we get, but what we have gotten. Are you following me? Let me make it simple. Let me make this simple, okay? Because some of you went to public school, okay? Let me make this simple. Here's the deal. So, over the series, I've been saying, wouldn't you love in 2019 to have stress-free finances? How many of us freak out trying to make our dollars stretch and trying to figure out how am I going to make my bills, and we get all stressed out? And I said, listen, you've tried it your way. Let's try it God's way. Did you know that Jesus taught on finances more than any other subject? It's true. More than heaven and hell combined, Jesus talked about how to be wise managers of God's resources. Why? Because Jesus understood that our heart is always in a fight against money. Money is always trying to get the throne of our heart. And so Jesus, He doesn't want your money, He wants your heart. And He says, if you want your heart right, if you want to experience stress-free life, then here's how to be wise and manage money well. And so I've said it before, and here's the simple formula. We'll put it on the screen. When you get your paycheck, God's way is simple. Give 10%, save 10%, live on the remaining 80%. And if you can take steps in the next several weeks towards giving 10%, saving 10%, living on 80%, your New Year's resolution can be stress-free finances. And some of you go, okay, that sounds great, John, but my checkbook is a train wreck. How do I do this? We've put a free online study guide together that you can start on this week at lifechurchmichigan.com/new-you. I believe that in 4 weeks, when the New Year's Eve rolls through and you say, there's Ryan Seacrest is funny on New Year's Eve. You know why? He says the same thing every 11 seconds. Do you know what he says every 11 seconds? Ryan Seacrest always goes, and what a year it's been. Every 11 seconds, watch it. It's a drinking game. You can do it New Year's Eve. You're welcome. So, new you, drinking cider. What were you thinking of? You're in church. New you. You can have a new you. You can win with your finances. Go online. The study guide's on there. The first 7 sessions are on there. It's free, anonymous. You can win in 2019. And it starts with generosity, giving God his tithe. That's what he asked for. In Hebrews chapter 7, verse 2, it talks about Abraham. And Abraham gave God a tenth of everything. That's where it started, way back in Genesis. It's outside the law, 400 years before Moses and the law. So this applies to everybody. God receives the first 10%, and then he blesses the 90%. Jesus even echoed this in Luke 16, verse 11. Jesus spends a lot of time in Luke 16 telling a story about managing your money well. And he says, listen, whoever can be trusted with a little can also be trusted with much. And then he says the inverse, whoever wastes the little that God's given you, then why would he give you more? Why would he bless sin? God doesn't bless sin. And so Jesus is talking about trusting God with your heart, not your resources, with your heart. That giving is trusting. God will not wreck you. God chooses to bless you. Our response to what God is doing in our lives is to bring the first 10% to God's house. In Ephesians, it says it's now through the local church that the manifest wisdom of God is being made known. And so we bring the tithe, that's God's, we bring it in faith. It's an act of trust. It's an act of worship. It's an act of obedience. It's a response to what God has done in our lives. If you want to win with money in 2019, I'm telling you, read the book. It starts with bringing God the tithe. Tithing is the least I can do when God has done so much. It cost God everything to win my soul. The least I can do is to bring him the 10% he asks for. And I get it. I get it because I've been in your seat before and I've listened to the pastor preach on it. I've been like, well, I got some doubts. Like, I can't afford to give right now. I'll wait. In about 2 years, I'll be in a better place in life. I'll settle down. I'll have a steady income. So in 2 years, John, I'll start tithing. But I can't afford to do it right now. Listen, here's what I would say. Honestly, you can't afford not to tithe. Seriously. And we'll get to why in just a minute. But listen, God is saying, can I trust you with the resources I've given you? Today, not tomorrow, today. In American history, there was a guy named John Rockefeller, kind of a big deal. You go to New York City, he's got all these skyscrapers. He was like a gazillionaire about 100 years ago. You could still go to Rockefeller Center where the big Christmas tree is. And John Rockefeller, check this out, he's a multimillionaire. And one of the most famous quotes from a millionaire, and we all want to listen in and go, what's the secret? What's the secret to being a millionaire? Literally, this is what he said, this quote, we'll put this on the screen. I never would have been able to tithe the first $1 million I made if I first had not tithed my first salary, which was $1.50 per week. See, when John Rockefeller was a child, he made $1.50, and his mom wisely said, you need to give the first 10% to God. And so he brought 15 cents to God's house. And it planted a seed in his heart of worship, obedience, and trust. So as he grew in influence because God was blessing, he saw he could trust him with a little, so he trusted him with more. He continued to tithe until the end of his life. This isn't something you do in 2 years. God says, why don't you trust me today? What's holding you back? Giving is a response to what God has done in our lives. And then Peter would push even further, and he would say that giving is a second thing. It's not just a response, that giving is this. It's a reward. It really is a reward. That God is testing your heart to see if he can entrust you with more, to see if he can bless you with more. Now, I'm not one of those guys on the TV that says, send in your seed money and you'll get $1 million. I'm not that guy at all. What I am is able to say that in the 19, 20 years that our family has trusted God and always given our first 10% of our gross income every pay period, that God has blessed us with 5 wonderful, healthy children, that our marriage doesn't bicker over money because we have a written budget. Only 3% of Americans have a written budget. So if you write a budget today, you're ahead of 97% of the people, right? And we have that free tool online to show you how to do it. That tithing has unlocked blessing in our lives, not necessarily financial, but we have a deeper experience with God. We've got skin in the game. Like if you're not tithing, you have as much skin in the game as your unbelieving neighbor. Like, ooh, that's just what? So giving is a reward. And what you give always gets replenished. How many of you have ever donated blood to the American Red Cross? I have. You should donate blood. 1 pint of blood can save 3 lives. You should also be an organ donor. Like if you're not an organ donor, you're going to hell. I'm kidding, but you should really consider, you don't need the parts. Like seriously, cut me up, I don't care. I'm just gonna be in a casket or whatever. But you can donate blood. 1 pint of blood saves 3 lives. And here's the deal. When you give blood, you have 10 pints in the average adult. You give 1 pint of blood, that blood gets replenished. It doesn't just disappear. I mean, God fills in the plasma in the cells. It's a miraculous thing. I can't explain it. Maybe you're a doctor and you can tell me how that happens, but you don't die when you give blood. If anything, when you give your blood, you save lives. We're talking about blood and thunder. And when we bring our sacrifices, our blood, God brings the thunder, and the reward is we get to have a front row seat to a movement of God. I was talking to a guy at Midland campus right before I came here. I was almost late getting here, but I just got into this conversation with this guy, and he was asking these questions about Life Church. We have tons of new people who check us out every single weekend. And he said, dude, what's the deal? Like, how did you guys grow? And I go, I don't know. If you can tell me that, though, that would help. Because we're only 5 years old, right? And all I can do is just go to 1 Corinthians, where it says, Paul planted the seed, Apollos watered the seed, but God made it grow, so he gets the glory. And he goes, okay, yeah, I get the Bible verse, but really? What's the secret? Because you guys are going to 3 campuses. And I go, dude, I don't know. Our people are excited about Jesus. And we bring the blood, and God brings the thunder, and the reward is we get to ride the surf. We're like kites in God's hurricane. That's what we are. That's Life Church, okay? Sometimes it's messy, but we get to see life change. That's a reward. And when you put some skin in the game, man, that's a reward. When you give blood, you don't die. If you put a check in the offering, you're not going to die. You're not going to go into debt. If anything, God's going to crack his knuckles and say, okay, watch this. Because what you give always leaves you with enough to go on. If I give blood, I will have enough to go on. I've got 10 pints of blood coursing through my veins. I give a pint to the American Red Cross. Within 24 hours, God replenishes all my plasma. And within 4 weeks, God replenishes my red blood cells. Everything that I gave gets replenished, and I saved 3 lives. How much more awesome if we trust God with our tithe, that we get to see lives transformed for the kingdom. You realize last Sunday in Midland's campus, 7 people prayed to receive Christ. And here at Saginaw campus, another 10 people prayed to receive Christ. That's life change. This morning, I met a first-time guest in Midland, a high school junior. She showed up. She said, I've grown up going to church. I was baptized in the church. But my church, it's not alive. They're just kind of going through the motions. So I went on Facebook and I saw this ad pop up and I came and she goes, what's happening at this church? And I go, oh, baby, you need to sit down. You need to buckle up because this is awesome. And that's the reward. We get to hear stories of life change. God fills it in when we bring the sacrifice. If you bring him the 10, he will bless the 90. And don't miss this. Jesus gave first We give as a response. God always replenishes, and so giving is a reward. It's the law of sowing and reaping. Sowing and reaping. We got farmers here. Somebody from the thumb of Michigan. I grew up in Iowa. If you know anything about farming, you know that in the spring, they start from scratch. And you plant a seed trusting that it will grow into something beautiful. And so as the farmer is planting the seed, the farmer is hoping and praying that the rain will come. They can't control the rain. That the fertilizer will take root. And when a farmer plants a seed, what grows? Another seed? No. They get fruit. They get more seeds in the fruit. You cannot outgive God. Whatever seed you plant, it will boomerang back tenfold. When I give to Life Church, I'm not giving to the church. I'm giving through the church. I have 5 kids. Pray for me. I have 5 kids, right? From 2 months old to 12 years old. And every time I give my tithe, that buys ministry equipment to impact 4 of my kids on Sunday morning in Life Kids. And it allows the church to pay the salary of an equipped Bible teacher to teach my 12-year-old how to stop screwing around and not look at porn at 7:07, right? So when I give to, it boomerangs back. I'm planting a seed, and I get to experience the fruit in the life of my family. Because God always rewards, He always replenishes what is given. So giving is 3 things. What did we say? Giving is a response, giving is a reward, and giving is extending our reach. It reaches people. People with hearts. God says, when you are part of the local church, we're on a rescue mission to reach into people's hearts. Here, I'm going to throw this over here, pass it around in the middle section. I want you to hold it, look at it. Here's another heart for this side. You guys, everybody take a chance to look at the heart and pass it on, and it'll go all the way to the back, and the ushers will grab it. This is about people's lives. This isn't giving to an institution. This is giving to a movement of changed lives. And God says, look, there's a response, there's a reward, there's a reach, and it's all centered in the middle book of the Bible, Malachi. In Malachi chapter 3, God gets all the religious people together. He looks them in the eye, and He says, listen, we need to have a heart-to-heart. God says, I'm trying to reach the world. I'm trying to be a light in the darkness. And the religious people go, well, God, we're in it to win it, man. Let's do this. And God says, no. You guys are a bunch of bums. You're sitting on your thumbs. All right, you need to get up off your blessed assurance. We got to do something. And they're like, well, what else do we got to do? Malachi 3:9. We'll put it up on the screen. Malachi 3:9 says this. God says, listen, you're religious. You show up at church, great, but you've cheated me. Some versions of the Bible say you've robbed me of the tithes and the offerings due to me. And so He says, you're blessed. You're not blessed. You're under a curse. You wonder why you're stuck in debt and making bad choices, because your finances are cursed. When you tithe, when you trust God, when you put God first, it releases God's blessings. And listen, I've watched Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. Do I want to live under a curse or under a blessing? Every month is a test. Every pay period is a test, because God says, you're robbing me. And what are we robbing God of? Money? No. God says, you're robbing me of the ability to bless you. If you get nothing else from this message, get this. The only thing we can take away from God is His ability to bless us. And Malachi 3:10 is the exclamation mark that should get your attention. He says, listen, simple antidote. Bring all the tithes and offerings into the storehouse so there'll be enough food in the temple, so when we give, we reach the region. And then God says, if you do, I will open up the windows of heaven for you. I will pour out what? A curse? No. He says, I'll pour out a blessing so great you won't have room enough to take it in. And for those of us who are skeptics and are like, really? He literally says, try it. Put me to the test. Listen, I've read my Bible. I'm not a prophet. I'm not the son of a prophet, and I work for a nonprofit organization. But I'll tell you this, that if you test God in this one area, He will outbless you. You cannot outgive God. He will boomerang. Luke 6, Jesus says, give, it will be given back to you. Pressed down, overflowing, a tidal wave of blessing. And that is about reaching people far from God. People with hearts, like the hearts that are traveling through this room. All right, let me bring it on home. One of my favorite leaders, okay, one of the holiest guys ever to walk the earth, okay, is Billy Graham. You got the Trinity, Father, Son, Spirit, and then there's Billy Graham. He's like the fourth guy, right? This is what Billy Graham said. This is what Billy Graham said. We are not giving when we give God 1/10, for it belongs to him already. This is a debt we owe. Not until we have given 1/10 do we actually begin making an offering to the Lord. See, giving is a response. Giving is a reward. Giving reaches people. And if we want to do some damage in 2019 in Midland, Saginaw, and in Bay City, how crazy is that to open up a third location in 5 years? Then it's going to take all of us having one heartbeat. If we have one heartbeat, we get to see the miracle. We get to say, yes, God, I'm trusting you. We get to experience the blessing. The stuff that we read in here can happen in here. God simply says, trust me in this. For some of us, it's taking the baby step of trusting God with our first 10%. Tithing is the starting line for a Christ follower, not a finish line. After we tithe, then offerings are above and beyond the tithe. That's when you give to missionaries or to orphans or to our year-end That We May campaign. And that's where you get to be part of a movement of God. There is strength in unity because we are all born selfish, born again generous. We are born selfish, we are born again generous because God is generous. So the demarcation between the old way and the new way is baptism, right? So after you come to Christ, the symbol of your faith that the old is gone, the new has come, is to be dunked. 2 weeks from today, we are going to celebrate baptisms right here. The tank's in the lobby. You can check it out. All the names that are written on the tank are people just like you who went public with their faith. Baptism happens after you trust Christ. So we have lots of people who were sprinkled as a baby, then they came to Christ, and now as an adult or as a teenager, they go public with their faith. Baptism is a symbol, it's a milestone, it's a reminder that the old is gone. I used to be a jerk, I used to be Scrooge, now the new has come. I'm learning to become generous as Jesus is generous. And if you've never been baptized as a follower of Christ, what are you waiting for? You can fill out that blue connection card and check off baptism, or you can go on our website, lifechurchmichigan.com, and sign up for baptism. It would be a privilege to celebrate your baptism 2 weeks from today on That We May Sunday. Baptism is a reminder that we are now different. There's a new you. And when you go all in, we can reach more people in the Great Lakes Bay region, more hearts for the kingdom. Did you know that in 24 hours, your heart pumps enough blood to fill 30 oil drums? Here's one oil drum right here. It's heavy, it's big. Imagine 30 oil drums on this stage. In 24 hours, your heart pumps enough blood to fill 30 oil drums. One source, tremendous impact. 30 drums from one source. What if all of these hearts sitting in these chairs shared the same heartbeat? What if in 2 weeks, in 14 days, after praying and thinking and searching the scriptures, we came to worship God, we celebrated baptisms, and we took a step of faith to invest in what God is doing in our generation. Not because we have to, but that we may. That's what Peter's talking about. In 1 Peter 2:9, Peter says God called you out of darkness to to experience his marvelous light, that we may broadcast his glorious wonders throughout the world. We get to be part of a movement of changed lives in Midland, Saginaw, and Bay City. We're praying for God to send the thunder. The question is, will our hearts beat as one to bring the blood 2 weeks from today? The That We May booklets are on your seats. I encourage you to take it with you, put it on your fridge or put it on your bathroom mirror, somewhere where every day for the next 14 days, God is able to move the needle in your heart. Because again, God doesn't want your money. He wants your heart. Just as those hearts are traveling around the room, That We May is about setting ourselves up as a church family to crash into the new year. For some of us, in 2 weeks, we're going to share a gift above and beyond anything we've ever done before. And that's scary. That requires faith. For some of us, it's about just starting to tithe, which is also scary. That's why we have the New You resource online to encourage you, equip you, cheerlead you. You're not alone. And for some of us, giving a gift is outside of our budget. That's why we have That We May pledge cards inside your booklets. Because 2 weeks from today, when we trust God with our That We May offering, some of us will deposit a pledge card saying, I can't do anything right now, but over the next 3 months, here's what I can give each month. And for 3 months, some of us can give up our Starbucks. For 3 months, some of us can give up McDonald's. For 3 months, some of us can make a temporary sacrifice so that we can reach more hearts for the kingdom and be part of the miracle. Let me end with this. In the book of Ezekiel, I like Ezekiel. He's a prophet who was bald. I like that guy. In Ezekiel 36, verse 24, God said this, I will sprinkle clean water, and you will be clean. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. Trusting God this holiday season is about turning away from the heart of stone and walking toward the heart of flesh. That We May is not a financial decision, it's a spiritual decision. Just as for some of us in this room, the biggest spiritual decision we can make right here and right now is to trust Christ for the very first time. Can we pray together? We'll bow our heads and close our eyes. And in this moment, as the band comes up to lead us in one last song, during this song, the offering buckets will be passed. But if you're visiting today, please leave your wallet in your pocket. We're not after your money. Instead, God is speaking to our hearts. And we can approach him with confidence, praying silently from our heart to his, saying, Father, thank you for this holiday season, reminding me again that Christmas is about your Son who came on a rescue mission. And some of us today in this space, we are craving a relationship with God. Some of us are hungry to take that first step of faith. You are not alone. We are with you. And so with every head bowed, every eye closed, if you want to take that step of faith in the silence of your seat, I'll invite you to slip your hand in the air just for a moment so I can lead you in that prayer in the silence of your seat. You can just slip your hand in the air for a moment. That's so awesome. And you can put your hands down and make this your prayer to God. Father, you know my past, and today I'm trusting you with my future. Today I am trusting Christ as my leader and my forgiver. God, guide my steps from this day forward. And Father, thank you for this Place Life Church. May we all be challenged from the words of Peter and the words of Malachi to step out in faith, not because we have to, but that we may. God, we love you, and we pray this in your Son's name. Amen.